Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us for another session of Insightful Accountants Future Forward Summit. The session is Key Niche Strategies for Exponential Growth. I'm Gary Dehart, the host of Future Forward and Accounting Insiders podcast and the publisher of Insightful Accountant and Tax Practice News. Today's speaker is Gregg Bossen. A couple of housekeeping, and Gregg will go deeper into his bio in a minute once I finish up on the housekeeping items. Couple of housekeeping. CPE is available, and like with all CPE sessions, you need to participate in at least 3 of the poll questions. I think we actually have 5, but you need to participate in at least 3 of the polls, and you need to be present for 50 minutes, 50 minutes, and we will email you the CPE certificate within about 24 hours. If by this time on, what's today, Thursday, if by this time on Friday, you haven't received your certificate and you think you qualified, just reach out to us at info@insightfulaccountant.com and we will look into that for you. Once the session gets rolling, I will put the link to our YouTube channel, which is where the recording for all of these sessions will be. That's going to take us probably 4 days to get all those posted. And then also, Gregg, are we sharing the presentation?
Sure.
Okay. And I'll also get a copy of the presentation. I'll put that as a PDF into the chat for you as well. So if you have any questions, we ask you to put those in the questions panel, and we'll try to get to those towards the end of this session, assuming there's time. So with that, that is all I have. Gregg, I'm going to turn it over to you, and appreciate you being here.
All right. Okay, cool. Hey, everybody. How are you doing? And I'm going to immediately change what he said. Okay. So I use the chat. So if you have any questions or comments, put them in the chat. And I'll be able to see. So don't use the questions, use the chat. Right away, I want you to put in the chat to make sure that you know how to use it. You can hear me. Tell me if you were in the session that I did on niches at 10 this morning. Put it in, or maybe it was 10:30. It was 10:30 this morning. So put in there and see. Oh, chat is disabled for everyone. Is that right? Hey, can you enable the chat?
Yeah, I was trying to right now, right as you said that.
All right.
Hold on.
I don't know exactly how to do it. I wonder if I can do it.
Yeah, see if you can. I was actually able to do that earlier, and
yeah, I'm not seeing how to do that. All right. Well, in that case,
I got it.
Okay, cool. All right.
Yeah,
so now put in the chat whether you were at the session that I did a couple of hours ago. There we go. All right, cool. So we've got a number of people that were there, but there's some people that weren't too. But it looks like most of the people that are coming were here earlier. So I can't believe you want to actually listen to me babble more. Oh, hey, Marcia, how are you? Marcia wasn't here this morning. All right. So what I am going to do, first thing I want to do is you'll see a picture on the screen of Paige Hudson Garcia. Paige, do you want to say hello to everybody? She works with me for QuickBooks Made Easy, and she has actually been instrumental in one particular aspect of growing our niche. So, Paige, do you at least want to come on and say hi to everybody? She did it in the chat, yes, but I want to hear your voice.
Yes. Hi, everybody. Glad to see you.
Okay, cool. So, and then Paige can look at the chat too while I'm talking. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. And all right, and I have a poll question that I want to start with, which is, and it's basically, what niche are you focusing on now? And we didn't have the ability to put all of the choices. So if it's not either construction contractors, nonprofits, or bars and restaurants, put it in other, stick it in other. So Lisa has retail, and there's 12 people that have said other, but only one person that has put what there we go. Dentists, interesting. Government contracting, professional services, dentists is small businesses, training, nonprofits, investors, crypto. Cynthia has crypto. There he is, Casey Ames. I wanted to tell you guys she's doing cannabis, and that is a niche that definitely is going to be growing. And so we definitely, at Gregory's doing startups, God bless you. They typically don't want to pay any money. Okay, cool. So that really helps me. So I'm going to go ahead and end the poll, and I'm going to share the results here. We've got, just so that you are, if you're wondering, we have 33 people in the room, other than the panelists. So it's a nice small group. So we can certainly talk and get questions answered. I'm going to try and ask you questions a lot. So what do we have? So we have 50% of you are either in construction or in nonprofit, 2% bars and restaurants, and the rest are in others. And we looked at one of those, what those are. Okay, so that's one thing that I was just kind of curious about, because myself, and let me go ahead and share my screen, or am I already sharing my screen? Am I sharing my screen? I don't know. I'll share my screen again.
Yes, you are. I see it.
Okay, thank you. All right. Yeah. All right. So I am, for those of you that don't know me, I am a CPA, and I have an accounting firm. All right. And we specialize in nonprofit organizations. Now, my goal with this session is to help you grow your niche practice, regardless of whether or not you're in the nonprofit space. So the way that I'm going to do that is I have basically some very specific action steps that you can take to grow your niche practice. I'll show the action step, and then I'll talk about how I did mine in the nonprofit space. All right. The very last action step is probably one of the most powerful things I've ever done. Paige is the one who came up with the idea and helped implement it, and it has caused our business to skyrocket. And so that's why I wanted to have her. Oh, wow. Paige says, I don't have the ability to chat with everyone, only the hosts. Okay. So I think I can make you, no. Can you make Paige a co-host as well, Gary?
Yep, I'll
And
work
then
on it.
we'll be able to move on. Okay, cool. And then hopefully that'll work. So I'm obviously not here to tell you about various accolades. So, all right. First thing is something we covered, a little bit earlier, but I just have a couple of slides on it. Why a niche? Accounting is a very splintered business. There's bookkeeping, there's individual taxes, there's business taxes, trusts and estates, high net worth tax planning. Some people specialize in designing an accounting system. And the person who was looking at setting up, helping with startups, is probably, that's one of the niches that you're going to be working in, designing the accounting system. App integration is a huge one. Audits, that's something that accountants do. Pension plan accounting, and working with foreign entities. So these are a lot of the different areas that you can specialize in if you are an accountant. But in addition to that, you can specialize in particular industries: restaurants and bars, doctors, lawyers, nonprofits, training. Yeah, Kathy was like, training is really a niche where you're training people, which I guess is one of my niches, is training. But I'm training just nonprofits. So it's kind of like a niche in terms of what I do and a niche in terms of who I do it for. All right. Then there's construction and online stores. So the point is, there's a lot of things that are happening here. Now, the question is, why is it that you would even choose a niche? And this is something that we covered a couple of hours ago. But basically, it allows you to focus. All right. And what I mean by that is, when you decide, okay, I'm going to be an accountant, who it is. Well, first of all, it helps you focus on what you learn, right? So I'm in the nonprofit space. So when anything comes out in accounting that affects nonprofit organizations, I need to learn about it. But things that happen over in the construction, like, rules around deciding whether to book something, completed contract method or percentage of completion, I don't know about that. And I don't want to know about that. There's simply too much to learn. And so that's why it helps you by allowing you to focus on just the areas that you need to focus on. It also obviously helps you in your marketing, right? Because you'll know who to market to and how to market to them. And then it'll help you with who you partner with. And the biggest takeaway that I can tell you from how I've grown is by partnering with others, to be completely honest with you. And so you'll see as we go through my story, you'll see how I've partnered with others over the years. All right. All right. So we talked about what your niche is. I've already kind of answered that question. So this, I think, slide was there a couple of hours ago, but I just wanted to talk about this for a second. The reason why the nonprofit niche is so good, and I know that there's at least 8 of you that are in this, there is over 1.8 million nonprofits in the United States alone. One of the things that's cool about the nonprofit niche is they care more about the reporting than others, which is nice. Usually you have a for-profit organization, they really don't care too much. They just want to pay as little taxes as possible. So it's kind of like we spend this time generating financial statements that they never look at. Nonprofits look at them, which is nice. Now, one thing that makes it tough is they have all kinds of other stakeholders. Board members, funders, donors, people on the staff, and banks that all want reports. And the reports they want are different. So as you can tell, the accounting or designing a system that'll give you all the reports you need is complicated, which is why it's been really a great niche for me, because a lot of accountants don't want to deal with it, right? Plus, they think that nonprofits don't pay, and that's actually not the case at all. So because of that, there's not very many people in the space. The accounting is more complex, but yet the supply of accountants to do the work is really, really low. All right. And the person that's doing the books for a nonprofit is usually the executive director or an assistant that has no concept of accounting whatsoever. So that's kind of like the irony of the nonprofit niche, is that the people that are needing to get these complex reports and are trying to do the work are the least qualified of anybody to do it, because people that are in the nonprofit space usually are not numbers people. So anyway, I had one of the groups that I partner with is the National Association of Nonprofit Organizations. And I was talking to the membership director there a couple of weeks ago, and she was telling me that she's hearing from nonprofits all across the country that are needing audits. It is very difficult to find accountants that will do a nonprofit audit. So I'm turning away audits every single week because we're full up. So this is a space that is crying out for accountants. It's a huge opportunity. But anyway, and then one of the great things about the nonprofit niche is that you don't need to worry about the income taxes. They're not complaining about that. So that's one of the things that I really like about it. All right. So remember, I told you that what I want to do here for you is, rather than just babble on about my niche and my story, I want to give you specific tasks that you can perform to grow your niche. All right. Now, the very first thing that I want you to do is I want you to learn about the niche that you are in. And you may already know some things about it. One thing that I would say is that you got to get at least a couple of clients that are in your niche that you're working with. It's crazy to spend time trying to figure out a marketing plan for growing your niche when you don't really have much experience working with it, So we talked about this morning. It's important for you to kind of get your feet wet. And during that time that you're getting your feet wet with the niche that you've chosen, you're probably doing business, you're probably doing accounting for other industries as well. I mean, it's just kind of the nature of the beast. You have to pay the bills. So it's much more difficult. I would say it's easier to get into a niche if you kind of get a couple of clients, but then to get the bills paid, kind of take whoever comes through the door. So I will tell you that the reason why, and I said this at the earlier session, but the reason why I chose the nonprofit niche, it chose me. When I graduated college, I went to work for KPMG, Pete Marwick. This was in 1988. And I just dated myself there. But the very first job that I got put on was a nonprofit organization. It was actually the national organization for a college sorority. And I got put on that job. And the manager on the job liked me. And so she kept asking me to be on her jobs. So that's how I developed that niche. So when I left the firm a couple of years later, I left KPMG and I went out on my own. That was the thing that I knew. And so I started cold calling nonprofits, all right? Because I knew how to do an audit for a nonprofit. And this was something that not very many people knew out there. And the people that did know how to do it, they're high-end, expensive accounting firms. The small fries, they don't want to do nonprofit audits. And actually, I was getting my hair cut. I'm from Atlanta, and I was getting my hair cut here in Atlanta at a salon on Peachtree Road. And it turned out that day, a nonprofit was having a little benefit where you could go and get your haircut there. And for every haircut they did that day, they would give $10 or something to the nonprofit. And a woman that was getting her haircut there was the executive director on the board of the nonprofit. And I struck up a conversation with her. And that's how I got my very first client. And it was an audit. And I still do the audit to this day. And it's, that was in 1989. So what is that, 30 years later? But anyway, once you have a couple of clients that you're doing work for, this is where I'm going to get into the meat. What I want you to do is I want you to take the client out for coffee or lunch, all right? And I want you to ask them some questions. And the questions that I'm going to have you ask them are going to help you in terms of growing your niche. One thing is if there's two people involved in the organization, one that's doing the actual data entry into QuickBooks, because usually these clients are doing at least some data entry into QuickBooks, and then the boss, I want both of those people at that lunch. The person who's in QuickBooks, as well as the person who pays me and the person who looks at the report. So these are the questions that I want you to ask them. First of all, I want you to ask them, what are the reports that you want that you aren't getting? All right. And I guarantee you, and invite them to think outside the box. What kind of reporting is it that the people in your niche want? Now, one of the biggest things that I got in the nonprofit niche is grants. They want to know how to track their grants. So what that tells me is okay, if I'm going to be in this niche, I need to know how to track grants. All right. And by the way, I'm taking the client out to lunch at the same time, and they love, not just clients, anybody loves to answer questions. People love to talk and give their thoughts or their opinions. I also think you need to ask them what you're doing right for them. I think that's always a helpful, and actually I would start with that question and let them tell you what it is that you're doing right so that you know. All right. Now, additionally, besides the reports, when it comes to the data entry, what takes the longest time and what's the hardest to deal with? And that's a question that you would be giving to the person who's actually doing the data entry. All right. And so in the nonprofit world, the biggest thing, the toughest thing, and I suspect it's like this in construction as well, is labor, employees. In the nonprofit world, we have to split payroll into different grants and into different programs. Construction, they have to split payroll into different jobs. And making that happen is probably an ordeal. All right. So in the chat, I want to know, anybody who is in a niche, what is it that your niche might have a hard time with in terms of the data entry? What is it that you think is a challenge in your niche? I'm just curious to see if anybody has something in particular. I don't know bars and restaurants that much. I would think what's challenging for bars and restaurants is trying to enter the sales and get them get profitability. So does anybody have an answer there? If you don't, just say something in the chat so I know you're listening to me and you haven't left. No one's putting anything in the chat. That scares me. There we go. Okay, tracking inventory. There we go. The FAR regulations, ensuring the accuracy of restricted funds. Yes. For training in general, it's the proper way of handling the bank feeds and how they work with the workflows. Exactly. Rachel says professionals are too busy, but just don't care. All right. So these are some of the things that you're going to need to know. Like Lisa needs to know how to track inventory. Now that's a big deal. So this is something that you're going to want to get good at. So far, what the client is telling you is the unique aspects of your particular niche that you need to get better at. I didn't see anybody that said attorneys was their niche, but the biggest thing with attorneys is the escrow account. You know, the monies get put in escrow, and then those monies get paid out to the client, to vendors that need to be paid, maybe another attorney, and then obviously the money that goes back to the attorney itself rather than another attorney. So that's a whole field, a whole expertise area that you need to get good at. So besides learning the specific topics you need to get good at, you want to ask them some more stuff. Well, I have, what do you wish I was doing that I'm not, which is helpful. But this next question, what other software do you use in your business? All right. So what this is going to tell you is it's going to help you learn which vendors are out there that work with people in your industry. Okay. For me in the nonprofit field, there are CRMs out there that they are using to record donations. A lot of them work with their websites. Some of them don't have a CRM. They're just using Stripe, or they're using Square, or they're using PayPal. And oftentimes they want to know how to sync that information into QuickBooks. So by knowing who these vendors are that they typically use and like, that's somebody that I'm going to market with or market to. In addition to that, what industry associations exist in the space? In the nonprofit world, every single state, mostly in this country, has a state association of nonprofit organizations. It's a nonprofit, and the members are other nonprofit organizations. All right. So in Georgia, it's called the Georgia Nonprofit Association, or Georgia Nonprofit Center, or something like that. They have PANO, the Pennsylvania Association of Nonprofits. They have the New York Association. They have TANO, the Texas, on and on and on. So I know these are associations that I need to become an affiliate member to. All right. So ask them what industries exist in the space. Ask them if they belong to those industries and why or why not. So this will tell you which ones are a waste of time to deal with. All right. So that's the first step in learning your niche. Okay. Then you're going to leave that lunch, maybe take out more than one client, and then that's going to inform you. And now you're ready, first of all, to join those niche associations. All right. So Many of them have an affiliate membership opportunity where you can join as an affiliate membership. And this is what I would suggest, okay? Reach out to the organization. Like I reached out to the Georgia Center for Nonprofits. Now, I didn't just go online and join their affiliate program. I got on the phone, okay? There we go, the phone, and I called and emailed until I spoke to the membership coordinator for the Georgia Center for Nonprofits, all right? And I introduced myself and I spoke to that person so that they remember my name, Gregg Bossen, all right? I found out what it is that person thinks nonprofits need, all right? You can do this in your industry. I'm asking them partially because it's nice to know, but partially because it gets the membership coordinator to give their opinion to you. People love giving their opinions, all right? And so you are basically fostering a relationship with somebody that can send business to you. So that, I think, has been very vital for me. Offer to volunteer for them. They, at the Nonprofit Center, have QuickBooks training sessions that they can offer. And so I offered to teach one for them for free. Now, you may be like, Gregg, I am not interested in training. I don't want to do that. That's cool. Volunteer in some other way. Maybe they have an annual conference and you can volunteer at the conference to help take tickets at the door. Whatever you need to do to get in front of the people at that association so they understand, oh, wow, this is somebody that I like and that likes me. All right. I already talked about offering and teaching a free webinar. But basically, I want you to become the person's friend is what I want you to do. All right. This is going to lead to other opportunities. Now, this might cost a little money. Becoming a member might cost a little money too. It's not that much, but sponsoring an event. So let me tell you, I'm just going to tell you what I've done. And I'm going to go into the web here. There is an organization that's called the National Association of Nonprofits. I'm just Googling it here, of nonprofits. And National Council of Nonprofits. And what this is a nonprofit group. Its members, remember I told you almost every state has a state association of nonprofits. Those associations, there's conceivably 50 of them for 50 states. Each one is a member of the National Council for Nonprofits. And the National Council for Nonprofits has an annual meeting once a year. I sponsored the lunch for that meeting. It was $2,500, well, the breakfast, it was $2,500. But I got to go to that conference and meet the people that are in each one of those state associations. And what was really cool about it is once I taught one free session for the Georgia Center for Nonprofits. Now, obviously, I have to be decent at teaching. What that led to was me being able to go to a different state association and saying, I'm doing it for Georgia. Would you like me to do it too? All right. Now, I know you're probably wondering, well, how do you get any money doing something free? Well, when you stand up in front of somebody, regardless of whether you know what you're talking about or not, if you're any good, you seem like the expert, and it's very easy to get clients that way. But anyway, if you don't like to train, then you might not be doing that, but you could still sponsor a table to get your name out in front of people, and all kinds of people do that. So I'm curious for the people that are in construction or in bars and restaurants or in any other group, I'd like you to tell me what groups are out there that you might consider joining. So I'm gonna put construction associations. Let's see what pops up. You put it in the chat if you know. Look, here's the builders and here's the Associated General Contractors of America, Accessibility Specials. Patty says the National Association of Women on Construction. So what you do is you Call these people, tell them that you're interested in helping out. All right. Listen, if you want to grow your niche, you must network, which means you have to talk to people. And it also means you have to be likable. Okay. Now, not everybody is likable. Some people have a slow burn, but if you know how to communicate and say hi and be nice to people, that's really all it takes. You want to engender some sort of a good feeling from the people at these associations. All right. So anyway, so let me go back to the deck here. All right. So that's my first suggestion, niche associations. So the second is, now I talked about understanding who the vendors are that they're using. I want you to contact the vendors and see if there's some sort of certification that you can get to work with that vendor. And it's usually an app that we're talking about. Most industries use some sort of outside app. All right. In the nonprofit world, again, it's going to be a CRM, or it's going to be something like Stripe or PayPal. In other industries, you tell me, put it in the chat. What vendors are out there? What other apps are out there in the construction or in the bar or restaurant business? In the bar or restaurant, wouldn't it be Square or Clover or something like that? Right? What other apps are out there in the construction industry? Put it in the chat. Okay, Builder Trend. So that's a contracting app, I assume. Does it sync with QuickBooks, Patty? Does it sync? Construction Suite is another one. Notify. Patty says, yeah, it syncs, but not well. Yep. That usually is what happens. But even if you're not in that space, like if you're just doing small businesses or something, most of them, either they're using some sort of retail platform like a POS system, or they're using an e-commerce platform like Shopify or WooCommerce. It's helpful to get certified if there's a certification in that app. If there's an affiliate program, the CRMs that I work with, like Neon CRM, Little Green Light, they have affiliate programs, and they are more than happy for you to get certified and become an affiliate. Usually what happens is if anybody purchases the app through you, either you get some sort of a commission. Now, that's not really why it is I'm doing it. It's a nice little extra income stream. What I'm more interested in is getting involved with the vendor so that they can send clients to me. Okay. If there's a sync to QBO, learn it, Patty, even if it's not good. I still want you to learn how it works, because what you can do is you can talk to them and offer to help them make it better, which is exactly what I did with a nonprofit app called Little Green Light. I'll kind of just quick story and tell you how this happened. So I didn't know anything about CRMs at all. I'm like, and people would ask me in classes that I taught, like, oh, I'm using Neon and they say they sync with QuickBooks. Can you talk about that? Or how does that work? I'm like, I have no idea. And I don't want to know. Okay. Is how I originally thought. Then an organization by the name of Method. It's a CRM, not just for donors, but for all all industries. They were entering a contest for Method. It was an app called Method Donor, and they were entering the app contest at QuickBooks Connect. This was a few years ago. And the winner got like $50,000. And so they needed to write a sync to sync their Method Donor CRM with QuickBooks, and they needed somebody to help them. So they contacted me and asked me if I would help them design the sync. Having no idea how that should work, I decided how I thought it should work. And they worked it through. They created a sync. And then I realized later on, I'm like, well, now I kind of know how to do this. And I was teaching people in these classes, And whenever I would get to the part about revenue, I would say, well, what CRM do you like? And they would say, well, I like Little Green Light. I kept hearing that. So Little Green Light didn't sync with QuickBooks at all. So I called Little Green Light and I said, listen, I think you need to sync. Method CRM is syncing. You need to sync. People like you. I'd love to help you do that. Now, they paid me for that, but I would have done it for free because what it allowed me to do was to get to know the people at Little Green Light so that when I said, hey, I'd like to teach a class showing how this sync works, they said, great, and we'll do it for free. And in exchange for that, they marketed to every one of their users. I showed them how to sync it to QuickBooks. And then I said, and by the way, we're doing a webinar on QuickBooks. And if you like the way I teach, here's the webinar. It's a paid webinar. Now, if you're like, I don't want to do training, I tell you, I'm getting clients constantly from these free webinars also because they hear I'm a CPA and they're like, wow, would you be interested in doing our accounting? Or we need somebody to do the 990. So that's how it worked for me. Okay. But again, I established relationships with these outside apps. All right. So that I think is key. All right. So as you can see, I'm talking all about partnerships. I'm talking about talking to the client, learning what their needs are, joining the associations, getting in bed with the membership coordinator as much as possible, and then doing the same thing with outside apps. All right. So once you've done those two things, then you're ready to market yourself as a niche expert. All right. So how, and I came up with this term niche bird, which is pretty lame, but anyway, so what do I mean by that? Well, what I mean is that you got to, because you know your niche, now you're able to target your marketing for that niche. Now, you'll be an expert in the niche. The first thing that I want you to do, and I'm really sorry to say this, is to spend money on your website. Okay. Now, I'm going to take you over to my websites. I actually have two websites. One of them is just my accounting website. Who has an accounting website now? Put it in the chat. Who has an accounting website? I'm going to go ahead and click my accounting website here. Who has a website right now? You have to have a website, okay? This is the only way that you are going to, or one of the main ways that you're going to get your name out there is by having a website. Now, this is my website. This is a lame website, okay? I spent a couple of $1,000s on this particular website. And in the website, I specifically, under, let me see where it is, services. Look at how I did my accounting services. I have business accounting, entertainment accounting, bar, club, or restaurant accounting. All right. Now, would you click on this? I've got, just some basic wording of things that I do or whatever. Not really relevant. What's relevant is that if somebody happens upon this site and they see that I somehow have a specialty in bar, club, or restaurant accounting, they'll immediately call me. Now, I paid money to get this site done from somebody who's good at that, okay? I did not go with some build your own site or get somebody's kid to do it. I spent the money. And because of that, about every 2 weeks, I get a call from a bar or a restaurant. Now, back when I did this, I had some bars and restaurants. I still do, but now I'm just doing the nonprofit thing. So I say no to them. Every 2 weeks, I'll get somebody who's a bar or restaurant, and I say no. But my point is that by making sure that you talk about this in your site, it will definitely help grow a particular niche. Now, what I've done is I have a separate site that's just for the nonprofit niche. I call it QuickBooks Made Easy for Nonprofits. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and click this, and it's going to take me to the other site. All right. So therefore, I get people clicking, and the more people that click on the site, the higher it goes up in the Google ratings. Now, I spent about $8,000 on this site. Okay. And you're like, well, that is a lot of money. Well, it's worth every single penny. All right. So this site I spent some money on. All right. And my partners, my people that I've taught free webinars for, the vendors that I have certifications on, I can just say, listen, can I put a link up on my site to link to your site? They're going to be very happy with that. And they conceivably can do that in reverse to me. So that helps bring me up in the ratings. We have a whole page now for our partners. Okay. We have state association partners. Okay. And look at all of these that we have. Now, these are partners that at some point I've done a free webinar for, or I've done a paid webinar for. Not a big, it's not like I'm working with them constantly, but I can click on any one of these and it goes over to their site. All right. I have industry partners. So this is the vendors. Okay. Divvy. I tell you, have you heard of Divvy? Have y'all heard of Divvy? This isn't even for my industry. Okay. This is just a, Divvy is kind of like a credit card. It's a credit card app. You get it through Divvy, but it's actually a Visa or a MasterCard. And, the beauty part of it is that all the transactions go through Divvy and then get automatically put into your QuickBooks. It allows the person with the card to take a picture to point the transactions at the time that the transaction occurs. It will also allow for budgeting. You can put a block on how somebody can spend. It's great. So I did a free webinar for them on PPP. Okay. Doesn't have anything to do with my niche. But you know what I know? Nonprofits can use Divvy. All right. And so because of that, anybody who uses Divvy that's a nonprofit, they'll send my way now because I have a relationship with them. Okay. So these are just, I have one with Insperity. I have one with OnPay. Okay. These are payroll companies that said, hey, and I reached out to Insperity myself. Like, do you want to get into the nonprofit space? I'll do a free webinar on 1099s for you. All right. And then you just offer it to anybody that is in the nonprofit space. And if they have the ability to cull it out, they will. Okay. So that they just get that particular industry. And then Neon, Bloomerang, and Little Green Light, and Keela, these are all CRMs. These are all CRMs. And they send me clients because they know me. They know me. So, all right. Let's see. All right. So spend the money on your website. Have a social media presence as well. Now, the best thing that I've found is YouTube videos. That's the best thing that I've found that brings clients to me. Yes, I have a Facebook, I have an Instagram, I have a LinkedIn. YouTube videos are where it's at. People love YouTube. Now, I know you're kind of like, well, I don't know that I want to make a little 5-minute video, but I'm telling you, if you want to grow your niche, you can do a little tip and put it out there in the ethos and people will find it. Now, I'm just going to Google, watch this. I'm just going to, here, I'll put it in the search engine here. I'm going to say tracking restricted grants in QuickBooks. And let's see what pops up, because that's what people do that are looking for answers to questions. And look at that. Here I am right here. I'll click on this. And
hey, I'm Gregg Bossen. I'm a CPA and I specialize in nonprofit organizations around the country. I also own QuickBooks Made Easy for Non.
So I do a little 9-minute video here. Now, as you can tell, this video is not very well done. I've gotten a little bit better since I did this one, but notice that in the background is the website. I think that's really important to do, because when they go to the website after they look at the video, they already have been exposed to it. All right. And I did this with a little software. What I do is I record it in Zoom, and then I edit it in a software called Camtasia, which is a little video editing software. I think it's $250 or something like that. It's not that expensive. So let's look at, let's see, somebody, we'll pick somebody in the construction business. Let's do like completed, let's see, completed contract versus percentage of completion. Those are the two different ways that you can track expenses for tax purposes. And if we go to videos, has anyone done a video on it? So there are people that have done videos on it. Look at this, percentage of completion versus, I want to learn about this, I'll click on it. Okay. Whoever
in our
this
last two videos, we talked about how to use the percentage.
So this person didn't put their face on here, but this is how you get your name out there. The editing tool, Miriam, is called Camtasia. Camtasia, C-A-M-T-A-S-I-A, Camtasia. It's from a company called TechSmith. All right. Is this helping you guys? I'm just going to stop for a second and put it in the chat. I wanted to give you meat. I didn't want to give you fluff. So how are you feeling about this? Is this helpful? Okay, cool. I don't like giving fluff. All right, cool. So, all right. Let's see what else there is. All right. Another thing that I wanted to talk about is staying in your lane. So you want to learn how to say no to others. I have an individual tax practice. I need to say no. I'm trying to get rid of them. It's so hard to get rid of individual tax clients. It's just, anyway. But the point is that my clients are getting older, just like I am. So what happens is a parent will die, and then they call me up and they want me to do trust and estates. I don't do trust and estates. I don't want to do trust and estates. So I have two people that I refer those clients to. All right. And they refer clients to me when they encounter people in the nonprofit space. But even if they don't encounter people in the nonprofit space, I don't have a problem referring clients to other people. I want to stay in my lane, and it gets my name out there. All right. And so find others to refer work to. All right. Let's see. Now we only have like 10, 15 minutes left, and I want to get to the coolest thing. So Paige, I'm going to ask you to come on, and I'm going to talk about, I'm just going to real quickly tell what this is. I've never done this before. I've been offering a la carte services. These are one-time projects. They allow me to get additional fees from existing clients. And it also allows me to attract new clients. All right. If you think about it, it's a lot easier to sell a client on an individual service than on just them becoming your accountant. Okay. So the person who's going to specialize in startups, let's say that you offer a service that will help set up a QuickBooks file for a flat rate. All right. You know, an accountant, when a client gets an accountant, it's kind of like they're picking somebody that they're going to marry. Well, you know, you don't go out and just marry somebody. You go on a date first, and then you decide after the date's over whether or not you want to see them again. By offering them a single fixed rate service, that gives them the ability to see how great you are, and also it allows you to see if you like them. Okay, it's just like a date. All right. So we're offering these services now. And I'm going to go to the place where we're offering the services, because we offer 6 a la carte services. I'm going to go up to nonprofit services. And all right, this was Paige's idea. So Paige, I want you to, well, let me just show you first. Well, what was the very first a la carte service? Because you were doing this before you started doing it with me. So what was the first a la carte service that you offered with your old accounting firm?
The checkup was first, and then file setup.
Okay. So talk about the checkup and how it is that you started doing that, why you started doing that.
Got it. So I started doing checkups. I called them something else, several years ago. But the point of doing a checkup is to just kind of get a diagnostic of, what's going on with the client. Because a lot of the time, they know they need help, they need help, but, terminology might be a little challenging, and so on. But they know things aren't working right for them, and they want you to take a look. What's nice about doing a checkup is you're going to give them, detailed results that they can take as kind of an instruction manual of how to fix it themselves if they have the knowledge, the time, the desire, right? If not, a lot of the time what happens is you're identifying problems before they become real problems. It gives you the opportunity to, offer to correct those and fix them. And it's quite frankly a nice way also to be paid for your time and expertise before they're actually a client.
Right. That's what I was going to say, because, like if your plumbing is out, and you have a plumber come out and take a look, and then they're going to charge you regardless. Okay. They're going to be like, well, for me to come out and take a look and diagnose the problem is going to be $135. If you decide that you want me to fix it, I'll let that $135 count towards the actual project that we're going to do for you. That's what we do with this checkup. And you can do it in any industry. Okay. So this is a checkup just for nonprofits. We have a little wording here. Did you inherit a messy set of books? Do you dread board meetings? Let us look. So this is what we do. We review the QuickBooks file for them, which basically, Paige, what do? I think you just go down the balance sheet like there's negative receivables, negative payables, right? Like, tell me how you actually do the checkup.
Sure. So anything that we as accountants would look at with a set of financial statements, for one, there's three different areas that I'm looking for. One of them are the actual financial statements, because if you wait, if for even a for-profit business, if you wait until you take that to the tax preparer, it's already a problem. There's no time to fix it at tax time. You want to get ahead of it, because a good accountant is going to see, you're absolutely right, you've got negative receivables, or you've got some kind of liability account that just never is going to clear itself, prepaid, hasn't been touched in 5 years, kind of thing. So I do look at the financial statements for things that I believe are pointing to some kind of inaccuracy or incompletion in the books. The other thing, not to put too fine a point on the third thing, but the other thing I look at, because we are specific to nonprofits checkup, I mean, I have done it for other industries in the past, but as I've been nonprofit specific for several years now, is that I'm also able to find out what the client is trying to do and maybe not quite doing it the most efficient, expedient way for themselves, and we can recommend ways to do that better. And we're still, positioning as experts in the industry, but we're giving them something they can really use, such as, according to Gregg's teaching, most of you are familiar with Gregg's teaching and recommended methods, not to track your specific grants in the chart of accounts. And that's there. And you could just tell they're struggling to get a good report out of that. So are they utilizing QuickBooks in the best way for themselves is another thing that I review in a checkup.
Mm-hmm.
And then just give them some pointers of what we recommend to do instead to make their lives simpler day to day as they're running their business in QuickBooks.
And how long does it take to do one of these things?
Because I've decided to only do them for nonprofits, and I know top to bottom what nonprofit set of books or even a QuickBooks data file should look like. I have gotten a 12 to 15 point diagnostic checkup for a nonprofit down to about an hour.
Right. So this way, when a prospective client calls you up and says, my books are kind of messy, can you help me out? You know, you have to look at the data file in order to decide how much it's going to be. This way you're being paid for that. All right. Which I think is fabulous. Now, I want to move on here, Paige, because we don't have too much more time, and I want to make sure they see some of these other services. There's a baby version of the checkup called a Quick Look. It's $135. She looks at the file, but doesn't do that whole, like, what your accounts and classes and stuff should be. This is basically for the person who doesn't have a whole lot of money, but it still gets them in the door, and it's a possible new client that you can get from that. The other two big ones that I think everybody can do is a new file setup. So I'm going to click on this one. This is $395. This is a new file setup. Now, Paige, how long does it take you to do this for a nonprofit?
This one takes even less time. And I'm so glad that you highlighted this one, because I think it's really important to mention to your audience that if you specialize in a particular industry, you can format one file, one template file with the chart of accounts set up, you know, the way they need to be before they ever get started. It's already ready to go. You load it. It's done. I can have a file setup done in about half an hour, and again, because I've decided to focus on nonprofit books only.
Now, we do not put in opening balances, okay? But you do have a discussion with them, right? Or is it all, I don't even know, actually. Do you talk to them?
I do a bit, but most of the clients who would utilize a setup are brand new getting started. So there's not, much pre-existing to load.
Okay. All right. The other thing that I want to give you as a suggestion for your industry is this one, QuickBooks migration. Now, we all know that people are moving from QuickBooks Desktop to QuickBooks Online. All right. We know this is happening. It's going to continue to happen. That's what QuickBooks wants. That's what QuickBooks is going to get. So we have a service to help them migrate from QuickBooks to QuickBooks Desktop to QuickBooks Online. We actually do it for them. All right. And me and you know that it's not that hard, but a lot of them don't. And there are glitches and problems, and there are processes that you have to go through to make it happen. So this service, we're also charging $395 for. All right. Now, I'm going to tell you, I'm going to end with this, and this is just going to show you how incredible this service has been. We started offering this service, like 3 years ago, Paige, I think, 2 or 3 years ago. Now, the one big national organization that most nonprofits belong to in this country is TechSoup. And TechSoup is a nonprofit organization that offers software at vastly discounted prices. They get vendors to donate software to them, and then they take that software, they have a little admin fee, and then people buy the software, all right, from TechSoup. One of them is Intuit. Again, this is just for nonprofits, but you can buy QuickBooks Online Advanced for $160 a year if you're a nonprofit, not a month, a year. Same thing with Plus, $75 a year. It's very cheap. So anyway, everybody in the nonprofit world that wants to get online and they were in desktop, they buy it from TechSoup. Well, they got so many people wanting to get TechSoup to help them transfer data that they started wanting that service to be offered. They don't do that service. So they came to me and they said, would you like to perform the service? We'll charge them. You do a discounted rate. We'll give you a piece. We'll take a piece. And so we started offering this. Look at this. When they buy it, at QuickBooks Data Migration Support, $345. We usually charge $395. Okay. So it's a $50 off that they get. It's not as big of a discount as they get to buying QuickBooks, but it's a pretty big discount. We don't donate it. TechSoup gives us a piece, but this is us, and us is Paige. All right. And we started offering this. They started marketing it on TechSoup last month. And how many have we done? Like, how many have you done so far?
We started with a cap number and we've raised it already. I want to say we're in the 80s now over the month.
So every day we get them. Now, why is it that this is working? Well, first, we're offering an a la carte service. And the other reason, because I know you're saying, well, Greg, they're not TechSoup or whoever, the National Association of Home Builders is not going to come to me and ask me. You know why they came to me? Because they like me. Okay. Because I went out there and I took them to dinner a few times. Okay. Because they like me. They think I'm funny. Now, obviously, I need to do the work, right? And I need to be reliable for them. But that's why they came to me. Again, it all comes back to the relationships and ability to connect with others in a positive way. So the final thought that I would say is, again, you want to partner. That's how I got where I got. Now we're a couple of minutes over. Yeah, Kathy, I developed a relationship with them. So in the chat, I'm just going to throw it out there. Does anybody have a question or a comment? I want to know that you got something from this session. So put in the chat how you guys are feeling.
Hey, Greg, it's Gary. Did you do any other poll questions?
Oh my God, you're going to kill me. I did. Okay, let me do another one.
Yeah, get those posted.
Right. Yeah, okay.
Need to get at least 3 of them.
Okay. Well, I've already done one. So if I could be wherever I want at this moment, where would it be? Back in my bed, fast asleep, lying on the beach with a drink in my hand, in a cozy mountain cabin by the fireplace. And you have to answer this if you're going to get CPE credit. So you need to answer it, all 47 of you. There's nowhere I'd rather be than right here listening to Greg or in the arms of my celebrity crush. So out of 46, we've gotten 30 so far. So make sure, yes, the PowerPoint will be made available. Miriam, I'm sorry, Gary, do I need to send that to you? No, y'all already have that PowerPoint.
Yeah, we have it.
Patty says the content is awesome. Oh, thank you. Oh, it reminds you of Sleater? Oh, wow. I wonder what old Doug Sleater's doing these days. Gary, do you know Doug Sleater?
I know him, but I have no idea what he's doing.
Well, find out and get back to me. All right. So I'm going to do one more poll. We're ending this poll in 3, in 2, in 1. All right, cool. And then let's see. What is the meaning of life? To serve others, to love, to learn, to enjoy the ride, or my personal favorite, 42. All right. So you tell me what you think on this. I'm going to go ahead and stop the share. How do I stop the share? I guess I can't stop the share while the poll's going on. Oh, there it is. No, I don't see a stop the share. That's interesting. We'll leave this on just for a little bit. So we still have 20 or so people that haven't answered, or 10, and I want to make sure that you get the Christy says hitchhikers. That's the meaning of life. Hitchhikers. What does that mean, Christy?
And so according to LinkedIn, Doug Sleater is investor at Phantom Auto.
Phantom Auto.
No.
Sounds like a Ponzi scheme. I don't trust that guy. All right. Okay. So those are my polls. And then can I just stop the share? Let me see. Oh, stop share. There we go. All right, cool. All right, I'll let you take us out.
All right. Well, the only thing I'll say in closing, well, one, thanks, Greg. Always have so much to share. It's and obviously great engagement there. So I think you did mention you'll be out at QB Connect. So if you guys are out there, make sure you sit in on his session, and we will be there as well. And then just be on the lookout too from Insightful Accountant via social or on our website or in the newsletter. We will be launching our Top 100 Pro Advisor program in the next week or so, give or take a couple of days. So that's all we have. Greg, thank you so much. And
yeah, just to let them know,
Yep.
The session is called Sink or Swim, and it's about outside revenue apps and how to sync them with QuickBooks. It's a new topic for me, and I really want a lot of people to come. So it's 1:00 on Wednesday. All right. And it's a 100-minute session.
There we go.
See you there.
All right. Thanks. See you there.